Hello again. Today is the 14th of February 2018 in New Zealand, and I'm going to talk to you today about this phrase that I hear so many pregnant women say nowadays: I don't have time. So we're talking about the truths of childbirth, and all truths have myths, or they have inaccuracies as well. So what's the reality of that? You're pregnant, you're facing the birth, you're facing having a baby. Someone might say to you, why don't you go to a childbirth class? Oh, I don't have time. I have kids. I'm working. I'm busy. That's true. You are. All that's true. You are. So just let's connect that to the reality. You don't have time now when you're pregnant to do those things because of your life. And after your baby's born, how much time do you have? How much time are you going to give? That's the big question, because the connection between pregnancy, birth, and parenting is a straight line. You know, there are people who adopt, so that's not always a straight line, but we're going to talk about people who get pregnant. So when you get pregnant, you are in a group. 100% of pregnant women will give birth one way or the other. That can be a termination, it can be a miscarriage, but those are still births, and we know that as women. Or we give birth and have a baby. We can give the baby up for adoption, we've still given birth. Something can happen to the baby and the baby not be viable and die, we've still given birth. We can take a baby home, that baby can have disabilities or be absolutely fine. We can have problems or we can be absolutely fine. All the variations on the theme. But the fact is once we have a baby, the baby fills up a lot of time. And if we didn't have time in our pregnancy to do things for ourselves, then what are we saying to ourselves? First of all, we're doing a classic, which is, I have to take care of everybody else. I don't have time to take care of myself. And that's both a myth and an inaccuracy. Because if you are going to take care of everybody else, you first have to take care of yourself. And that's the reality. Because drained resources don't provide a good outcome. So you are a resource. If you are the carer, and if you are drained, you're not doing a good job caring for others or other things. So you have to take care of yourself first. And then we have to ask the question, well, how important is the birth? So if you say, I don't have time to go to a childbirth class, or we have people who say, I don't have time to learn the Birthing Better skills, it takes up too much time. Well, first of all, it doesn't take up a lot of time. You can learn the skills from 24 weeks onward in about 5 to 15 minutes a day. And honestly, and when you practice the skills, you're doing other things mostly. And a lot of times when we're doing other things in our head anyway, even it's called daydreaming. So of course you have time to do this. You have time to learn how to birth your baby with dignity and with a good set of skills. But this is now the norm for women to say, I don't have time. But what are we saying as women when we say we don't have time? Because the reality is if we're pregnant 100% of the time. So you have 100% of the time being pregnant. So you know that you're planning the baby's room. You're taking up time doing that. You're getting clothes for the baby. You're taking up time doing that. You're thinking about it. You're taking up time doing that. So what are you actually saying when someone says to you, have you gone to a childbirth class? Or have you learned the Birthing Better skills? And you go, I don't have time. Well, you're saying something which is really, really interestingly significant. Because as I've mentioned in other of the talks I've given, whether it's debunking the myths or talking about the truths about childbirth, it is this generation, really of the past, since the late 80s, early 90s, in which once the birth plans became really paramount, everybody had to make a birth plan, and those were based on this belief. Women know what kind of birth they want. And we do. We all know what kind of birth we want, and we all want a very similar birth. We want an outcome in which we're healthy and our baby's healthy. That is primary to everybody. And often the natural birth movement says you can't reduce birth down to that. The reality is, yes, you can. Right? Women will tolerate a huge amount of disruption, medical care, unpleasant things around the birth as long as they and their baby are healthy. So if they and their baby are healthy, they will say, everything that happened to me is fine because I'm healthy and my baby's healthy. So when it boils down to it, yes, that is the bottom line. But after that bottom line is met, after health and wellness is met, women want to have a good birth experience. We all want to have a good birth experience. We want it to be positive. We want it to be empowering. We know it's going to last as memories throughout our life. We want to look back on our baby's birth and feel good about it. And not enough women do nowadays. There's been this huge rise in shame, blame, guilt, anger, frustration, disappointment around childbirth. And that coincided with putting stress on giving birth as an event that you can plan through a birth plan. So you know what kind of birth you want. You want a good birth. You want a positive birth. You want everybody to do just the right things like they would at a wedding or how you plan a vacation or a birthday. You have an idea about what you want in your birth and you want to plan it. So you make a birth plan and your expectation is, I get that. And that too many of those fail because the truth is there's no way to know what your birth's going to be like. And it's followed by, and therefore there's nothing you can really do to prepare for it. So that inaccurate sentence is actually the foundation underneath this statement, I don't have time. Because if women honestly feel there's nothing they can do because the truth is you never know what your birth's going to be like, then why put any time into doing anything about the birth? And in generations before I gave birth in 1970, in generations upon generations throughout the world, women didn't focus as much on birth being a highlight experience. They focused on birth as being the transforming experience that moves from pregnancy to having a baby. So they were very tolerant about birth because you never know what your birth's going to be like. And because there has never been, up until the Birthing Better skills, a universal way to prepare your body for birth and to have a universal set of birth and birth coaching skills that are based on our humanity, the 4 ways humans breathe, our ability to know whether the bones that we're sitting on are opened or closed for our baby. All these things about the Birthing Better skills that are based on our humanity never existed before. Even with the hypnobirthing, hypnobabies, the active birth, Lamaze, Bradley, the Dick Grantley Reed, those are techniques that require a lot of factors that support it. You first have to want to have a natural birth. Your ideal is to have an orgasmic or pain-free birth. You want to have less medical care. And so the idea of all the other childbirth skills-focused resources is to achieve a particular goal. Whereas the Birthing Better, they're the skills that we created, the men and women that I worked with, the mothers and fathers. Our goal was that we could cope and manage and stay on top of and work through our baby's birth journey, no matter how it unfolded. So therefore, when we looked at pregnancy as the time to prepare for the birth of our baby, and because we wanted a healthy birth for our baby and for ourselves, and because we wanted a positive birth for our babies and for ourselves, we took the small amount of time to start to prepare for our baby's birth from 24 weeks of pregnancy onward. And the benefits of that were wonderful birth memories. And the benefits of that was that we all birthed better. And the benefits of that was that we felt more settled as a mother or father with our newborn. And the benefits of that was that our family felt better. And the benefits of that was that we knew that we were a skilled birthing mother and a birth coaching father or other. And the benefits of that was that we could prevent medical issues from blowing up into becoming a problem because we could birth our babies effectively. And the benefits of that was that when we birthed effectively and had the skills to cope and manage with the natural occurring pain of labor, then the birth professionals who were around us saw us coping and managing. And that trigger in them that wants to save us from suffering didn't get triggered because they see that we're coping and managing well. And if we have lots of medical issues, they're more negotiable about the assessments, the monitoring, and the procedures that they feel are necessary because they can see that the issues are not blowing up into problems. And if they are blowing up into problems because we're skilled, we're easier about making decisions about it. All of these are the benefits of taking time to learn skills in pregnancy from 24 weeks onward, is that if you're planning a non-laboring cesarean because you want one, great, because you need one, depending on how you feel about whether that's going against what you'd like or not, or because you're pressured, which is definitely going against what you would prefer. If your body's still preparing for labor and having a vaginal birth. So when you take the time to prepare your body 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day from 24 weeks onwards, and take a little time and practice those birth and birth coaching skills, then you use them on the way to the hospital because you realize that's my labor. You use them while you're being prepped. That's our transition. You use them during the surgery. That's our baby's birth. Because taking time to learn skills, to birth your baby, means that you have skills as the activity of birth unfolds. Because in reality, birth is an event. You can't plan it, but it is an event. It's a big event in any woman's life. It's also something that just happens to you. There's no way to know what your birth's going to be like. However, primarily giving birth in all of its forms is an activity. We have to do it. Pregnant women do pregnancy. We have to do it. We have to take our time. We fill our time, 100% of our time, with our pregnancy. And when we birth our baby, 100% of our time is filled with doing that activity. It starts at X, whenever you define that, and it ends at when the baby is born. That time can be filled with our skills. And if you don't have time to learn skills, then what are you going to fill that time with of giving birth? You're going to fill that time with feeling passive. You're going to fill that time with feeling out of control. You're going to fill that time with having negative thoughts about people not being nice to you or being disrespectful or not informing you, or a partner who isn't supportive. You may even fill that time with being grateful that you're in the hospital, or that these people are being nice, or that your husband or your other is trying to support you. You're going to fill that time with thinking, with emotions, with feelings of sensations. Those sensations are internal, and those sensations are your responses to external factors. So you have a choice. And that choice fundamentally is how you spend your time in the latter 16 weeks of pregnancy to learn how to birth your baby, or whether you can't be bothered. And a lot of women can't be bothered, and we call that a reasonable reason why not. I don't have time is a reasonable reason why not. So we have a generation, for the past generation, of women who have never been told that becoming skilled to birth your baby is something you should do. We don't have a societal expectation that people are skilled. And that changed from when I gave birth in 1970, because there was a very high level of societal expectation that all families become skilled. And as I've said before, and that was the original sin, because those skills, Lamaze and Bradley, were focused on a small group of women who wanted a natural birth, a pain-free labor with less medical care. Yet those skills were taught very broadly. But many of us who used them, and they weren't really skills, they were more techniques that didn't work very well, and they didn't adjust, and they weren't sustainable, and they didn't adapt to circumstances. So if our births weren't normal, we stopped using the skills because we were told that they were for that. If circumstances changed, we stopped using the skills because we weren't told that those skills were just to do the activity of giving birth. So we took seriously what we were told. The message was that Lamaze and Bradley and Grantley Dick Reed, and now hypnobirthing, hypnobabies, spinning babies, Calm Birth, Birthing Within are all about achieving this natural, orgasmic, wonderful experience. That's great. But Birthing Better is for maybe all the rest of us. I don't know. All of us who aren't going to have a natural birth, can't have a natural birth, don't want a natural birth, circumstances change, whatever. Or the hospital wants to do a lot of assessments, monitoring, or procedures, or we start out at home and end up in the hospital. All the variations. Birthing Better families that develop the skills. This is what we created. And we knew from early on that the amount of time that we needed to take to learn skills to birth our baby was infinitesimal compared to all the time we were spending preparing for our baby in other ways. So it was easy to learn the skills. It was easy to practice, and they were fun. We had fun getting to know our body. We had wow moments. And because we share the same human body with our male partner or other partner, they feel the same thing, which means they are really good at helping us use our skills while we birth our baby. So this is my childbirth truth of the day. Yes, you do have time, and you should take time. And that time that you have to take to learn how to birth your baby skillfully is a tiny amount of time. You just need to start around 24 weeks if you possibly can. You'll be more motivated later in pregnancy, but it's more of a rush, and you don't need to put that time pressure on you. So how do you support our New Zealand Charitable Trust? You can donate through PayPal at info@birthingbetter.com. We have these on our playlist at YouTube at Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation YouTube channel. You can comment. You can share these videos on your social media site. That's how we can begin to grow a skilled birthing population globally around the world for all expectant parents and all births, and to make certain that not only we as pregnant birthing women are skilled, but the person who's going to be with us, that they share a set of skills with us so that they can really help us work through this activity of birthing our baby with dignity and pride and feeling in control. So see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.